What's up, guys? Welcome to the Financial Dad Podcast. My name is Gus, and this is my daughter, JC.
Hi.
I always want to talk about the purpose of the Financial Dad Podcast is there's a financial literacy is huge for me, and just knowing the basics, and that's what we talk about. We keep it super basic until somebody has a question, and I look at it from basically like a dad talking to his 19-year-old daughter about financial literacy. I think there's a huge lack of understanding in my world. I talk to probably 20 to 30 new clients a week, and it's always the same issues with parents, which are people, which are business owners, which are just everyday people. And I think there's a huge misconception in the world in regards to money and having enough money. And then you have social media throwing everything at you about what you should or should not do. So that's what we talk about. We talk about anything and everything that's got to do with financial. So that means investments, that means insurance, that means how it affects your business and your personal life. Pretty much everything is on the table.
Credit card, debt.
Yeah. So, because my biggest concern as a dad is her I have 5 kids, ranging from 8 months to 19 years old. And I am the one change in myself that I have noticed over the last few years is I'm willing to admit my faults or where I failed. And I think that that's huge, is that what I see as parents are unwilling to talk about the basic things that they have failed, or maybe it's not a failure, maybe what they want to do. Because there's just a misunderstanding in regards to finances, which are so important. So today is the third part of a 3-part episode. So the first one this is all insurance. So insurance on what you own, for example, like your home, cars, boats, whatever you own. The second part was insurance on yourself. So that could be life insurance, and then everything underneath that, whether it's health, life, long-term care, pretty much any insurance where your being is insured. And the third part is on your business. And so the cool thing about this is that JC is not just a freshman in college, but she also works for me. She recently finished or is almost finished with her property and casualty school to get her license. And how's that been?
It's a lot more simple whenever you study and put your mind to it, but it's definitely a lot of information at one time.
Yeah, I think the mistake that was made by, like, when I first sent her to the school was...
It was online.
Yeah, everything was online. And so
you're just sitting there watching videos for 15 hours, taking notes.
Well, it was terrible because it was like, for me, if I was going to go learn, for example, Spanish, I would find it very difficult to learn online. Mm-hmm. I'm a human being.
You can't ask questions.
Well, human beings learn from other human beings, so it's kind of hard to learn online
from
without
10 years ago.
Yeah. So JC will be involved in this episode because she deals with this every day. She gets the phone calls from business owners in regards to taking off questions about workers' comp insurance or general liability insurance. And so even though she has just scratched the surface of her learning, I think that she's learned a lot and just on how businesses run. There's a lot more to owning a business than just making money or losing money. There's a lot of cost in regards to opening business. There's a lot of liability.
I would not think about all the behind the scenes costs that there really is.
Well, nobody does. Everybody wants to own a business. Everybody wants to be me until they figure out what I had to do. And me in general, I'm just a business owner. And so everybody looks at the things that you do, the psychology of it, but they don't understand the path that it took to get there. And so you'll hear a lot about that. So anyway, let's get into the episode. So the commercial business, by definition, is any insurance that you have to have for your business. And so the 3 most common forms are general liability, commercial auto, and workers' compensation. Those are just the 3 boring things that most people have to have to run a business. And most of them are, two of them are actually required by law, and then most of them are required by contract. And so what that means is that if you're doing business for somebody else, like somebody hires you to do something, they're going to want a sheet of paper called a certificate of insurance that proves that you have that. You cannot create it on your own. It has to be asked for by the company that is providing the insurance. So like a brokerage like us, and it has to be signed and it has to be dated. It's an important piece of paper. And but in today's world, and we'll get into this a little bit later, a lot of people is frauded a lot, where people are trying to create their own COIs to save money, and so it's becoming a real thing now.
Would there be a way for them to tell if it's fake?
Well, it depends on if the person that asked for the certificate of insurance, so the person that you're doing the work for, really looked at it.
Okay.
And so I think that the main thing is that the majority of people, there are red flags in regards to certificates of insurance. Like if you're having to call multiple places and get the COI certificates of insurance and things like that. So, but let's go over each one of them. So the three most common forms again are general liability, commercial auto, and workers' compensation. And so general liability, by definition, protects you and your company from insurance claims involving bodily injury and property damage resulting from your products or services. So it's basically just insurance on what you do. And so the example of that is, let's say that you're a landscaper, and your general liability insurance policy is, most of them are called like a 1-2, so 1 million, 2 million. And what that means is that if you go out and you do something wrong, let's say that you're applying some sort of fertilizer and it messes somebody's lawn up. So your general liability policy, if you got sued, would then protect you for something that you did wrong.
But only up to the limits that you have. So that's what the 1 mil and 2 mils for.
It's 1 million per accident and $2 million aggregate. Mm-hmm. And so that's the definition of general liability. So general liability, there's two things that determine your premium. There's only really two things. What you do, so like if you're a plumber, if you're a landscaper, if you're an electrician, if you own a car business, then there's a code allocated to what you do. So that's the first thing. So your premium is by code, and then either by payroll or sales. And so,
is it either or is it both?
No, it's one or the other.
Okay.
So the main issue that I see with general liability insurance is number one, you have a lot of people, it's not as prevalent as today, but you just have people just doing dumb stuff. Like they will, number one, they will go out and they will get a policy for a job and then not pay the premium. So then the policy is canceled, but yet a certificate of insurance, it's amazing. Clients. I think the more I'm in this business, the amount of time that people put into doing dumb shit amazes me. And what I mean by that is the effort. So for example, you're a landscaper. Premium is $1,500 a year for a general liability policy. It's not expensive.
And normally that's split into like 10 payments.
Yeah, you can put on a payment schedule. But the amount of people, we vet people pretty heavily here.
What do you mean vet?
So ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
So I ask a lot of questions because I want to know, if you've been in business for 10 years and you call me and say, hey, or you call this office and you need a general liability policy, well, why haven't you had it before now? Mm-hmm. Those are questions. So
why are you needing a new one?
Yeah, why are you needing a new one? Why are you leaving the company that you were? Did they ask questions? And the majority of the time, it's because nobody explained. I don't really think it's the customer's fault. I think it's because nobody looked at them and said, hey, this is what it costs. If you keep jumping from company to company and doing dumb shit as a business owner, then you're never going to be able to grow.
But at the same time, shouldn't they know not to do that?
Shouldn't they know not to jump from company to company?
Yes. Well, I feel like that's just common sense.
It is not common sense. You would think it was, but that's only because you're in this every day. it's common sense to put gas in your gas tank once a week, but you don't do it. You know,
Yeah, I ride here on 5 miles sometimes.
but I think but that's with maturity and growth where you learn, hey, I don't want to get stuck in the weeds, things like that. And so I think that I think what's happening in the environment in regards to commercial and business insurance is that when the economy, this has nothing to, but this is what I've seen. When the economy is great, everybody enters the market. And so,
Because it's easy.
well, because everybody's got money there's an overabundance of money. And so everybody enters the market. So even in my industry, in financial services, you will see everybody on, hey, invest in this, put money here, I'm doing this now.
But that's your job.
Well, it's my job, it's my career, but if there's free money, it's kind of like this. When the real estate market is great, what do you all of a sudden see an overabundance of?
People buying
Realtors.
homes.
Realtors.
Okay.
Yeah. So
People selling homes.
yeah. Well, when the real estate market is hot, meaning there's like and this is all business. When the market is hot and there's a lot of money, and things just line up, you'll see a ton of people enter the market. And it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in all businesses. And the crazy thing about it is that they don't know what it took to get there. So I've been saying that for years, is that, and there's a lot of people that say that. Well,
Do you mean they're taking kind of like an easier route by going in when the market is
they think
good?
it's easy.
Or?
Well, they think it's easy, but they don't know all of this, what it takes investment-wise. I've always said this, my whole family farmed. You don't see anybody graduating from college and saying, hey, I'm going to be a farmer. No. Because you got to go spend $10 million to go be a farmer. So it's not something that people just jump into. And I think that, and I'll put it back on the insurance companies. When somebody calls me, I almost don't want them to do business with me.
Why is that?
Because I'll spend 10 or 15 minutes with them and I'll talk to them about these 3 insurances, because I know that by contract, the people that are doing work for are going to demand that they have these 3 things. Mm-hmm. And so if I don't spend that 10 or 15 minutes with them and educate them in regards to what they have to have, it's going to play out later on where they don't have respect for the investment into their business. So then they just float from company to company to company. That's the problem with doing business with online companies. Nobody talks to them.
No one's explaining.
Well, you
what
can
everything
Google
means.
general liability insurance for a landscaper. You can Google that. You can have a policy from certain companies in 15 minutes. But inside of that policy, and we'll go over that in a few minutes, but inside of that policy, it might exclude 90% of what you do. But now you have that certificate of insurance.
Do you think that by doing that, like using online companies, a lot of businesses have policies that they don't need?
I think that they have policies that don't reflect what they need.
Okay.
And because people get so stuck, and this is human nature, people get so stuck on the cost. That's why whenever you do, especially for commercial businesses, and all it takes is one mistake. That's it. One mistake, and I always go back to like landscapers. Landscaping is huge everywhere, but one rock hits a window and your policy doesn't cover that, and you're $1,000 out of pocket. One mistake with putting out stone pavers, or you went and bought something and it didn't work, and it's one mistake. But yeah, and that mistake may only happen once in a career, but if you just ask the questions and listen to a qualified person, it would be different. So that's the main thing.
Mistakes always come at the worst time.
Well, yeah, they always come at Friday at 4:45, as an example. All mistakes always come at Friday at 4:45 when nobody wants to deal with it, but they always do. So again, your general liability premium is based off of 2 things. So it's based off of what your allocation code is, so landscaper, plumber, and then your premium is based off of your sales. So basically, the checks that were written to you for work that you did, that's your sales. And then, or it could be based off of payroll. So depending upon the company that you are taking out your insurance with. The second one is commercial auto. So this is by definition, this is just coverage on vehicles that you use in your business. That's it. A lot of people use their personal auto policy in the due course of their business. And personal auto policies don't cover the same thing as commercial auto policy, like business
I had
auto
someone
policy.
ask me that the other day. If, like, let's say someone was starting a detailing business and they just have everything in their truck, could they use their personal auto policy to cover all of that?
They're not supposed to.
Okay.
They're not supposed to, because as an example, let's just say this, and it depends on the personal insurance policy that you have. And so you're detailing somebody's vehicle, or this person is. Let's just say it's a mobile detailing business, and they go into somebody's yard, and they are and the car rolls backwards and runs over a kid, or runs into the home.
You just went from 0 to 10.
Don't say that.
No, you're fine.
Well,
He likes to use examples that go from like here to here, so then it just like punches you.
But that's so in the financial services business, you think about worst case.
Well,
And so
that's what
it's-
you're supposed to do.
Well, it's always that's my job to think for the business owner, and then they can go do what they do. But anyway, you're in somebody's yard, and you're doing what you do, and you are found liable for something. A personal auto
Which
policy.
most of the time you are.
That's right. That's right. There is no. There is no. It's not up for debate. You know, if you did something, if you were not there, would that have happened? The answer is no. And so, a commercial auto policy, that's specifically what it's for. Whereas a personal auto policy, if they find out that you're using that vehicle in the due course of running
That's
a
one of their
business,
first questions in the application is this being used for business purposes?
that's right. Yeah. And if it is, then you have another question about who's driving those vehicles.
And
So-
even if you're doing like DoorDash, Uber Eats, or something like that, it's still a personal auto policy won't cover a business.
Yeah, we
or
had
won't
that. We had
cover
that issue with
a
you.
wreck. No, I didn't do that.
No, you thought you were going to be cool that time, and
It lasted 30 minutes.
it lasted until I got on the phone.
It lasted 30 minutes.
Shit. So for as an example, you have a lot of kids today that and adults that think that they can have go out and DoorDash for extra money. And so JC thought she was going to be cool one day because she had a friend of hers that did it. And hey, I'm going to go use my personal car that she and I own to go deliver. And I was like, JC, you can't do that.
I did it
and
anyways.
then I
I
explained.
did it anyways for like 30 minutes, and then I got bored.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Because kids don't give a shit. They will fuck their parents over quick. And so, but I told her that she couldn't do that because the liability on a personal auto policy would not protect her if she injured someone. And so there is that. And plus, DoorDash, they asked you probably for something to prove that you had something. They just went straight and just let you DoorDash, probably because you're an independent
They
contractor.
just asked me my age.
Yep.
And
So like what you asked me a
about
while ago. You asked me this a while ago. Shouldn't the person know? and so that it goes back to you.
oh, how the tables have turned.
Yeah. Shouldn't you know that you can't just go and use your personal automobile to run a business?
I really didn't know that until you
Why
told
would
me.
you? Why would you?
Well, because I would never think that I would have to have a whole policy just to go deliver food for an hour.
That's because you do dumb shit.
Exactly.
Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. But that's because nobody ever told you.
Yes.
And which is the purpose of even me doing this podcast. I just have a huge belief that people are not dumb. Nobody just told them. There's there's just issues right now with the passing on of information, and nobody is passing on the information. Everybody's scared. Everybody's scared to tell the truth. Dads are scared to talk to their kids because they don't even know. So that's the purpose of the podcast. It's not rocket science. It's just nobody's talking to people.
And our brains like to overcomplicate things that are actually
or
really
not
simple.
accept the truth.
That's it.
You know, overcomplicate and not accept the truth is like two huge things. Also on commercial auto, what if you have a driver? What if you have somebody helping you? What if they make a mistake? On a personal auto policy, every driver is supposed to be listed on the policy. Everybody that's in your house is supposed to be listed on the policy as a driver if they have a license.
It's the same way for businesses too.
Yes, but business policies, they will sometimes they'll give you some slack on like a driver that is unlisted and just say it's a mistake, and then they're going to add them, you know. So that's number two, and then the third part, which is really the biggest part, is workers' compensation. So I get a huge amount of questions online as well as from clients about what is workers' compensation. So workers' compensation is nothing more than basically a policy on your employees. So if your employees are working for you in the due course of working in their job and they get injured. So biggest example, again, we'll go back to landscaping. I had a client a couple years ago that hired a guy. The very first day that this guy is on the job, they did not cut down trees. So in a landscaping code, you're not supposed to go above 6 feet. And so with like 6 foot ladder,
Okay.
you can reach up with something above the 6 feet. Well, this dude decides to climb up in a tree. He's trying to impress his employees and his people that he's working with. This dude takes off his shoes, climbs up a tree, jumps down, and both of his feet land on roots, and he breaks both of his ankles. So I think he was like 20, 21 years old. So
That explains it.
yeah. Well, because nobody told him that he shouldn't do that
Okay, well, that is actually common sense.
for a girl.
For anyone. Don't just take your shoes off and start climbing a tree because you want to impress people.
Nah, dude, take your shoes off. Climb that tree. Just watch out for roots.
He
Yeah.
climbed, but
just be
from what I
careful.
understand, the tree did not have branches until it was like
He
8
was just
feet.
taking his lunch break.
No, he literally
side
had been on
mission.
his job for 1 hour. 1 hour on a Monday.
He got fired, didn't he?
He was in the hospital for 6 months.
And then he got fired.
So I think he laid himself off.
Yeah.
You know, so but point is that this dude was hired on a Friday, started work on Monday, got into a work-related accident on Monday, stayed in the hospital in rehab for around 6 months. The workers' comp policy paid out over $200,000 to get him fixed. So you have to be very, very careful about what you do in regards to hiring employees, because you as the business owner, you're going to be required, if you were going on somebody else's property to do work, you're going to be required by those people to prove that you have workers' comp. Now, workers' comp is also mandated by the state. Mm-hmm. And so
That's only 2 or more employees.
so if you have 2 or more, and it could have changed, it used to be 3 or more, but if you had,
I believe it is 3.
well, that's what the book said, but I think it's now to 2 because it includes the owners.
Okay.
So it's either 2 or 3 just to hit all. So if you have 2 or 3 or more employees, including the owners, and on the ownership, it could be, you have to look at the LLC. So the articles of incorporation, if it's got 2 people as owners, even if one of them is silent, then that counts as one of the owners.
I didn't know it included the owners.
Yeah, no. Workers' comp insurance does not include owners for
Okay.
injury,
Okay.
but they are included as one of the employees.
Okay.
And so workers' comp insurance, again, is insurance on your employees. And that is totally based off, workers' comp insurance is totally based off of your code. So a guy that's selling real estate is not going to pay the same amount per 100, it's a per 100 rate, as somebody that's
Can you explain
an
the per
electrician.
100?
So it's workers' comp insurance is super easy to calculate. So, for example, you call XYZ company and you say, "Hi, I need a quote on workers' comp insurance. Here's all my details." And you specifically ask them, "What is your rate?" So let's just say it's $1 for simple,
Okay.
$1. And so the rate is based off of per 100. So you take your payroll or your expected payroll, divide it by 100, multiply it by let's say it's 100,000. That's 1,000 units, right? Divided by 100 is 1,000. Multiplied by $1. So your rate is $1,000 for the year.
Okay.
And so that's how you figure out how much you're going to pay. But where I see the mistake on workers' comp is they understate their payroll. Let me explain super simply how that is a mistake. So workers' comp insurance policies are audited. So at the end of your term, so let's say your policy runs from January to December. Somewhere around December, within 5 to 10 days, whenever your policy renews, you're going to get a letter from that company, and they're going to audit that. They're going to get your, if you're self-employed, they're going to get your tax returns, your 941s, your profit and loss statement. They're going to figure out if you understated or overstated your payroll.
Well, don't you pay a base premium in the beginning based off what you think that your payroll could be?
Yeah, but people lie.
Okay.
So, like for example, if you have because nobody told them, if you and that's all that it is.
And is that like them thinking that that's a way like around the system is to
It's a way to pay
understate
less
it?
premium.
Okay.
And so, like if again, I'll go back to landscaping. If you're a landscaper and you know that your payroll, let's say that you know your payroll is $13,000 a month, right? But you tell me it's 10. So I put $120,000 for the year, right? But it was really 13,000, right? Times 12. Then when you have your audit, you're going to owe the workers' comp company premium based off of what you did not tell me, or
So it's going
based
to catch up to you.
this is where I see the most problems with companies is that they understate the payroll, thinking that nobody's going to find out. Because
Now, if you overstate it and you tell them more than what it actually is at the end of the year, do you get a refund?
yes,
Okay.
you will get a check back from the company pretty quickly. I mean that it is a
No, they always give refunds very quickly.
workers' comp is a state mandated policy, and it's audited, and they're not going to keep your money. And so everybody always complains about insurance until they need it. So for example, this landscaper, they always complained about their workers' comp premium, always. They have not said one word because they know, and I told them, they made a mistake. They hired somebody that they shouldn't have hired. They did not tell this dude, hey, this dude, okay, so the new employee was Hispanic. He was new here
Okay.
and new to that business. A rational person says, okay, well, landscaping includes trees. That's how the workers' comp company looks at it. It includes tree trimming. So unless you told this guy, hey, don't be climbing in the trees, don't do stupid stuff, then, like you said, rational would be like, oh, okay, well, people should just know not to go climb in trees. Really? Really?
I mean, yeah, kind of.
Well, you also know to fill your gas tank up, and you don't do it. So, it goes back to rational is basically, in the eye of the beholder.
Everything keeps coming back to me.
Yeah, you're the only person. Well, it's the same thing with me. Rational, as you become wiser, you become more rational. And so, or you try to hedge the bad things that can happen. And so, another thing too in workers' comp is that if you are using subcontractors mean you're paying them a 1099. So if you're paying them a 1099 and they do not have insurance, then they are a part of your payroll. So if you have $100,000 of W-2 employees and then you have $50,000 of uninsured subcontractors where you just wrote them a check.
Does that mean that they don't have their own insurance?
Well, if they don't have their insurance, then your payroll is $150,000.
Okay.
If they do have insurance, then you can take that $50,000 off.
Okay.
So that's
So are subcontractors normally supposed to have their own insurance?
no.
No.
So a lot of them do, a lot of them don't. I think it depends on the scope of their business. And so so the life application, we're always trying to end the podcast with like life application, like real life examples. And so what I see a lot of in mistakes is I see a lot of business owners buying off of cheap low premium prices. That's all they base their premiums off. I mean, their ability or want to buy is how cheap they can get it. However, the policy does not include proper coverage. All they've got to do is just ask questions. Does it do this? You know what you're going to be doing in your business. If you don't ask about it and then your policy doesn't cover it, then whose fault is it? Can't blame but one person. And so the best thing to do is just ask questions.
Couldn't it also be the agent's fault though if they know that their client does not know that, but they're not informing them?
Insurance is a buyer. All financial products are a buyer beware product.
Okay.
We take the information that we are given and we quote the policy.
Okay.
So if you didn't tell me that, I could always look at you and say, you didn't tell me that you were doing that. Like a landscaper is cutting grass, but also laying stone patios. It's not my job to like say, are you doing stone patios?
Yeah.
And so, but in insurance, I will always say financial products are a buyer beware product. If they weren't, everybody that lost money in the stock market would get it back. But it's a buyer beware product. And so, financial tip of the day. If you own your business, it will always benefit you to protect your business so you can stay in business. You do not want to make a mistake and lose your business due to not having proper insurance. And as always, ask questions and do your homework. Thank you guys for joining Financial Dad Podcast today with JC and I. It's part 3 of our series. Today was on just commercial business insurance. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment or email us at financialdadpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us.